Since we're speaking about Israel and Syria, I will show you a news on Al Jazeera Arabic. And you know my position on Al Jazeera Arabic. I have been telling you it's a PSYOP. They serve the American interests, they serve Israeli interests, and they play a double game in the region. They are very sophisticated PSYOP, psychological operation against the Arabic people. And they basically, I use the term donkeyfied. They donkeyfy the Arabic masses. What I mean by that is they try to create a generation that is not really critical about these political cases, and they even deliberately either distort the news or publish complete fake news, and without even getting community notes. And the vast majority of the Arab people who watch it, they will believe it because they will not double check the information. They will just read the title and they will think that Al Jazeera is credible and what they have reported about Syria and Israel is correct. And I will show you this example. So this is a news on Al Jazeera Arabic, right? So if you click the translation, it says, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad was not in Israel's interest, right? This is what Al Jazeera said. So I will show you the video of Benjamin Netanyahu talking about Syria, because Al Jazeera is quoting Benjamin Netanyahu from his press conference with Marco Rubio. So this is the segment of Benjamin Netanyahu and Marco Rubio, right? Both of them, when they spoke about Syria. Please let me know in which paragraph or in which segment or in which sentence any of them mentioned this information. Take a look.
We also discussed the situation in Syria after the collapse of Assad's regime, a collapse that was made possible by Israel's weakening of Iran's terror axis, especially the weakening of Hezbollah and the removal of Nasrallah. For over a decade before October 7th, Israel acted to prevent Iran from developing new terror fronts against us in Syria, right opposite the Golan Heights and deeper in Syria. And we conducted hundreds of airstrikes, perhaps 1,000, in order to prevent it, and we did. Now, if any other force in Syria today believes that Israel will permit other hostile forces to use Syria as a base of operations against us, they are gravely mistaken. Israel will act to prevent any threat from emerging near our border in southwest Syria.
On the broader issues that we discussed as well is the questions in Syria. And while the fall of Assad is certainly promising and important, if Syria replacing one destabilizing force for another is not a positive development. And that is something that we will watch very carefully as we seek to craft our own strategy with regards to how to approach the events in Syria.
So this was around the 20 minutes of press conference, maybe even less. And I checked the entire press conference. I transcribed it. I searched for the term Syria, Assad, and everything. And this was the only time they spoke about Syria. 2 minutes. 1 minute Netanyahu and 1 minute Marco Rubio. Was there any statement indicating that Netanyahu says, basically, quote, that the fall of the Assad regime was not in favor of Israel? No, nothing. But Al Jazeera deliberately published this because they want to support the Jolani government at the time when Jolani is complicit with Israel and not doing anything about the Israeli occupation forces of more Syrian lands. So this is what I published about the case. I say, here is how Al Jazeera shamelessly manipulates and donkeyfies the Arabic masses. This Qatari-owned propaganda machine, funded by the same regime that bankrolls the Al-Qaeda offshoot in Syria, aka HTS, has twisted Benjamin Netanyahu's words to fit their toxic narrative. They claim Netanyahu said ousting Bashar al-Assad was not Israel's favor. But let's set the record straight, because Al Jazeera won't. Netanyahu's actual and full statement was, Syria's collapse was made possible by Israel's weakening of the axis, he says, the evil of resistance. Since before October 7, Israel had been acting to prevent new terror fronts against them right opposite the Golan Heights and deeper inside Syria, perhaps 1,000 airstrikes to prevent it. This is yet another glaring example of Al Jazeera's deceitful tactiques, deliberately distorting facts to serve their agenda and mislead their audience. It's not journalism, it's propaganda, plain and simple. Our friend Hadi says Al Jazeera didn't even twist it. here, as they usually do. They fabricated a whole statement opposite to what was really said, which is so true, because I said Al Jazeera twisted. They didn't twist it. They completely made up a new statement from Netanyahu. And one of our friends says Israel, along with Turkey and the West, had been backing Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist groups in Syria since 2011 to overthrow Assad. They all played a role in destabilizing Syria and ultimately orchestrating his removal last December. This was never about democracy or stability. It was about regime change at any cost.